All right, let's dive right in. For any nonprofit, financial management isn't just about balancing the books, is it? It's really about fueling the mission. But what if the very tools you're using are actually holding you back? Today, we're going to talk about how modern financial tech can completely transform a nonprofit's operations and, most importantly, really amplify its impact.
So let's start with a little reality check. A whopping 61% of nonprofits are still managing their finances with basic spreadsheets. Just think about that for a second. In this day and age, with all the automation we have, the majority are still relying on a tool that's just begging for errors and, eats up so much time.
And here's what that actually means for the people doing the work. Finance teams are spending a staggering 75% of their time on repetitive accounting tasks. That's right, 3/4 of their entire week is just gone, sunk into data entry and checking numbers, instead of, actually strategizing or planning for the future.
So if you're in the nonprofit world, does this whole cycle of endless spreadsheets and manual work, does it sound a little too familiar? It's a super common frustration, but it is way more than just an annoyance. It's a trap.
And that's exactly what we're calling it, the spreadsheet trap. It's this vicious cycle of inefficiency that just ties up your most valuable resources, your people, your time, things that should be going directly towards your mission. The cost here isn't just about being annoyed at your computer. It goes so much deeper than that. Let's really dig into the serious risks this inefficiency poses to a nonprofit's mission, its funding, and heck, even its ability to survive.
And this all feeds into this really critical idea called the starvation cycle. So what is that? Well, it's this catch-22. Donors, they want their money to go directly to the cause, so they're often hesitant to pay for things like software or better systems, what we call overhead. This forces nonprofits to scrape by with outdated tools, which, surprise, surprise, makes them less effective. It's just this awful, vicious cycle.
And the pressure just keeps building and building. First off, you're working with razor-thin margins. We're talking about organizations putting over 70% of their budgets straight into programs. Then you've got restricted funding, money that you can only use for one specific thing. And to top it all off, you have these huge data silos where fundraising has their numbers, finance has theirs, and they don't talk to each other, making it almost impossible to track your real impact.
And like Tim DeMagistris from Workday says here, the stakes are incredibly high. This isn't just some internal bookkeeping problem. It's about donor trust, it's about accountability. People who give you their hard-earned money deserve to know that their contribution is actually making a real difference.
So how in the world do you break out of this cycle? Well, the answer really is technology. We've got to stop thinking of modern financial platforms as some nice-to-have luxury. No. They're an essential tool for smashing that starvation cycle and getting past all these challenges. And the biggest superpower of this tech is actually pretty simple, but it is so profound. It creates a single source of truth. One place for all the data. When you get rid of those silos, suddenly everyone is on the same page looking at the same real-time info. That alone is a total game changer. So it all really comes down to 3 key things. First, automation. Right? To get rid of all that repetitive grunt work. Second, integration. To make sure all your different systems are actually talking to each other. And third, and maybe most importantly, real-time insights, which lets you make smart decisions based on what's happening right now, not what happened 3 months ago. Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this actually look like day to day? Let's get practical and explore how this tech can totally transform some of those core financial tasks we all know and, well, that we all know. All right, let's talk budgeting. The old way, right? That massive, rigid, annual spreadsheet that's probably obsolete the day after it's approved. But the new way? It's dynamic. It's alive. You can use tools like Rolling Forecast to get a constant 12-month view or run different scenarios. What's our best case? What's our worst case? This makes your organization so much more agile. And look, this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. Take it from Michelle Ime at FoodCorps. She said the time they saved on just doing the budget was immediately reinvested into strategy, so their leadership could make better, more informed decisions. That's a perfect real-world example of how fixing the back office directly helps the mission. Okay, what about expenses? We've all been there. The old way is just a complete nightmare, isn't it? You're chasing down crumpled paper receipts, trying to remember which grant to bill it to, and then typing it all into a spreadsheet by hand. It's a huge time sink and, honestly, a massive compliance risk. Now compare that to the new way. It's literally as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Your employee snaps a picture of the receipt with their phone, and tech reads all the data automatically. Step 2. They tag the expense to the right grant, right there in the app. Step 3. It's sent off for digital approval. Boom,
done. It's fast, accurate, and you've got a perfect digital audit trail.
And this isn't just for internal expenses. The impact on managing donors and sponsorships is just as huge. I mean, think about all that manual work, processing donations, sending thank yous, updating records. With the right platform, you can automate up to 90% of that. 90%.
And all that newfound efficiency, it pays off big time in your donor relationships. When you use data to actually personalize your communication, you can boost repeat donations by over 80%. And get this, even a small 10% improvement in just keeping the donors you have can increase the lifetime value of your entire donor base by 50% or more. The numbers here are just staggering.
So, at the end of the day, what's this all about? Every single one of these operational upgrades, every hour saved, it all leads back to one single goal: unlocking the full potential of your mission. It's about supercharging the back office so you can make an even bigger difference out on the front lines.
So to make this even more concrete, let's look at a specific example. There's a platform called Help You Sponsor, and it's built from the ground up for nonprofits. It brings together donation management, fund tracking, donor communication, all those pieces we've been talking about into one single system. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking right now. This all sounds great, but there's no way we can afford it, right? Well, take a look at this. What this shows is just how accessible these tools have become. Platforms like this usually have pricing that can scale with you. See? There's a free plan to get started, and then different tiers as your organization grows. The whole point is to make this kind of powerful tech available to everyone, no matter your budget.
And the payoff from making that investment, it is absolutely massive. Nonprofits that switch to these kinds of cloud-based platforms are closing their books up to 90% faster, every single month. Just take a second and imagine what your team could accomplish with all that time back.
So that really brings us to the final, and I think most important, question. The conversation shouldn't be, can we afford to invest in these tools? The real question, when you think about the costs of all that wasted time, the risk to your donors' trust, and the focus it pulls away from your mission, the real question is, can you afford not to?